All right, so you're on a movie set. Clock's ticking. The director, they look a little stressed, and there are 100 things happening all at once. Who's keeping that from becoming, well, a very expensive disaster?
Well, that's what we're diving into today. The world of, get this, assistant video and motion picture directors.
The unsung heroes, they make the magic happen, but
Yeah.
behind the scenes.
And AI, changing everything.
It really is, yeah. From how those jobs are even found to how people prep for those big interviews.
So forget, clipboards and yelling, quiet on the set. Our sources from RoleCatcher, totally different picture. Demanding, sure, but also creative and, dare I say it, glamorous.
Well, maybe not your typical 9 to 5, that's for sure. Their career guide, it really gets into it. We're talking juggling huge egos, directors who haven't slept in days, and budgets that, well, let's just say they disappear fast.
Okay, I can barely keep track of my to-do list, so hats off to these folks. But it's not all just putting out fires, is it? There's a real creative side, too. 100%. You're not just following orders, you're problem solving on the fly. Maybe the equipment's acting up, or you need a new shot idea, and fast.
So you need to be organized, but also think on your feet. Sounds like a lot. I can see how those skills would be useful even outside of Hollywood, though.
And RoleCatcher makes that point exactly. Organization, diplomacy, thinking under pressure, those are valuable anywhere.
So even if you're not going to direct the next blockbuster, this is still worth a listen.
Exactly. And speaking of blockbusters, technology's changing everything, not just the tech on set, but how you even break into this world.
Which is where RoleCatcher gets really interesting. They're using AI in some seriously cool ways to connect the dots between, aspiring assistant directors and the people hiring them.
Yeah, it's like a two-way street. Job seekers get this career coach in their pocket, and employers. It's like having a team of recruiters working 24/7 just for them.
Okay, I'm hooked. Give me the details.
So let's say you're on RoleCatcher and you see a listing, right, for a Spielberg film.
Dream job alert.
Exactly. But here's the thing. RoleCatchers doesn't just show you the listing. It analyzes it, the skills, the director's style, everything, and it tells you how to make your resume stand out.
That's amazing.
And for someone like Spielberg, imagine looking through thousands of profiles, but not just for experience. You're finding someone who fits your team, your way of working.
Next level matchmaking for sure.
Yeah.
But what about the actual work? Does RoleCatcher get real about the good, the bad, and the ugly?
Oh, they lay it all out there. On one hand, you're part of something exciting, you're on set, you're learning from the best, maybe even meeting some big-time actors.
Okay, that part sounds fun.
Yeah.
But there's got to be a downside, right?
Right. Long hours, crazy pressure, and the competition, it's intense.
So not for everyone then, but for someone who loves that fast-paced, high-energy world.
That's the key. RoleCatcher, they really stress this. It's a lifestyle, not just a job. You got to have passion, be able to handle the stress, truly love filmmaking.
So you're ready to jump into this world? Where do you even start?
That's where understanding the different career stages comes in. And luckily, RoleCatcher gives you a really clear path to follow. So they break it down, right? Starting with the production assistant, the PA. It's like film boot camp. You're learning everything, doing a bit of everything and trying not to trip over cables.
Ah, the PA. The unsung hero. Got to make sure the talent gets their M&Ms. Wait, was it green or blue M&Ms?
Blue, actually. But you're right, it's more than just those tasks. You're on set, watching every department, learning the rhythm of it all. Got to prove yourself.
And showing you can handle the craziness. Because we know it's not exactly like a yoga retreat, right?
Exactly. RoleCatcher's big on that. Employers want reliable, someone who can think on their feet, not add to the stress.
So you've mastered the coffee run, survived on 2 hours sleep, impressed everyone. What's next? What's the next step up?
Second assistant director, usually. The second AD RoleCatcher. They call him the master of logistics.
So if the PA keeps the coffee coming, the second AD keeps the whole production moving. On time, I'm guessing?
Exactly. Like the conductor of this big, chaotic, very expensive orchestra. They're doing the call sheets, a super early wake-up call, managing extras, the crowds, basically making sure the set's ready to go for every single scene.
And that's where the organization, the staying calm under pressure, that all comes in.
Big time. Always juggling, dealing with the unexpected. RoleCatcher even shared some stories from real second ADs and some of the things they've dealt with. Wild.
Okay, now you have to give us an example. What kind of craziness are we talking?
So there was this one shoot, right? Crucial scene. And they had these pigeons, trained pigeons, supposed to fly in this formation. Well, the pigeons had other ideas. Second AD had to wrangle them back into line, literally. Save the shot, though.
It's a story you tell forever.
Yeah.
But it shows how this job, it's more than just checking boxes, right? You got to be adaptable, resourceful, maybe even a little bit of a bird whisperer.
Exactly. But as tough as it is, that second AD role, that's where you get more responsibility. More creative input, too. Helping with the script, the shots, sometimes even directing little bits here and there.
So you're not just keeping things running, you're starting to shape the fill itself.
Exactly. Which brings us to, well, for a lot of people, this is the dream. First assistant director, first AD.
The director's right hand, the one calling the shots. Well, some of them at least. What's RoleCatcher say about this one?
They describe it as a leader, someone who solves problems, like constantly. They're the bridge between the director's vision and, actually making it happen on set with the crew, the budget, everything.
So you're managing the team, the schedule, making sure the director doesn't have a total meltdown, all while making creative decisions.
Pretty much. You have to understand the director's vision completely and find ways to make it work, practically speaking.
I bet that's where all that experience really matters.
100%. You need to know filmmaking inside and out. From planning everything to solving problems on set, even what happens after the shoot's done. It's not just yelling action and cut. You're thinking ahead, making big decisions fast, and making sure everyone's working together.
The ultimate test. But for someone who wants to direct someday, that's invaluable.
RoleCatcher seems to agree. They talked to a bunch of directors, and every one of them said being a first AD, that was crucial for them. It's where they learned to tell a story visually, how to lead a team, how to deal with the inevitable chaos of a film set.
So we've got the PA, the second AD, the first AD, a clear path with more responsibility and creative control as you go. But what about someone who wants to, specialize? Does RoleCatcher talk about that?
They do. They have a whole section on specializations. It's pretty cool.
So you don't have to follow that one path. Tell me more.
Let's say you love action films. You could focus on working on those kinds of sets, learning about stunts, special effects, how to make those big action scenes happen.
So you become the go-to first AD for the next big crazy action movie.
Exactly. Or maybe you're more into indie films, smaller budgets but more freedom, working with directors who have a really specific vision. That's a whole different path you could take.
It's amazing how much variety there is. One day you're managing car chases, the next it's a period drama.
Right.
And it's all assistant directing.
Exactly. And RoleCatcher, they talk about how there are more opportunities now, too. Not just Hollywood. TV, commercials, even stuff online. The demand's there.
So yeah, lots of competition, but also endless possibilities. But let's be real. It takes more than just passion and a good calendar app to make it in this industry.
Right. Oh, for sure. And that's where RoleCatcher gets real practical. They don't sugarcoat it. Networking is key. Why? Building relationships, making yourself stand out. They actually have advice on how to do it right.
Because we've all heard it's about who you know in Hollywood, right?
Right. And look, talent matters, hard work matters, but RoleCatcher's right. You got to network. They talk about going to events, joining groups online, even reaching out to people whose work you admire.
So you're brushing up on your small talk skills while you're mastering those logistics.
Exactly. And RoleCatcher, they actually give you templates for emails, tips for events, even practice scenarios for talking to potential employers. It's really smart.
We've thought of everything.
Yeah.
But even with all that, even with the perfect resume, those interviews can be scary.
Totally. So RoleCatcher, they've got you covered there too. They have tools to help you prepare, and they're seriously cool.
Okay, I am so curious. Tell me everything.
They've got this huge JE library of interview questions, like over 120,000.
Wow.
Right. And not just any questions, they're specific to being an assistant director. Everything from your on-set experience to how you handle really stressful situations.
So you go into that interview feeling ready for anything.
Exactly. And here's the really wild part. Their AI can analyze videos of you practicing your answers. It gives feedback on how you sound, your body language, everything.
No way. It's like having your own personal AI interview coach.
Exactly. It can even pick up on things you might not notice, like if you're, fidgeting or saying, too much. Helps you put your best foot forward.
Okay, that's incredible. So they're really using tech to help people,
Yeah.
which is awesome. But even with all the best tools, it still comes down to the person.
Absolutely. RoleCatcher says that over and over. They can give you guidance, connect you with people, but you have to do the work. Be persistent. Don't give up on that filmmaking dream.
So for our listeners who are feeling inspired, ready to go for it, what's RoleCatcher's best advice?
They keep it real simple. Be passionate, never give up, and never stop learning. The film industry changes constantly, so be curious about new tech and don't be afraid to try new things.
All right, so we're back, and we've been talking about all the amazing things assistant directors do, but let's be honest, it's not all like movie premieres and fancy parties, right?
Definitely not. RoleCatcher gets real about the tough parts. They have this whole section called like the reality check. Get ready, it's the less glamorous side of things.
Okay, lay it on me. What do I need to prepare for?
Well, first things first, long hours. And I don't mean just like a busy day. We're talking 12, 14, 16-hour days, sometimes more. 7 days a week when things are really hopping.
So much for that whole work-life balance thing.
Yeah, you might be making a movie about work-life balance, but you won't have much of it yourself, at least not at first. And those long hours, often in some pretty crazy conditions too. Heat, cold, rain, bugs, you name it.
So no sipping iced lattes in a cool studio all day.
Maybe some days. But the next, you could be knee-deep in mud trying to get a shot while battling like a million mosquitoes. They even have a list of essential gear for assistant directors, and it's intense.
Okay, I'm getting the picture. It's a grind. But the toughest part isn't just physical, I'm guessing?
Right. The pressure is real. Big budgets, big personalities, and you're making decisions constantly. RoleCatcher talked to some experienced ADs, and they all said, like, you got to have ways to deal with the stress.
So it really tests you.
It does.
Yeah.
And that's why you got to love it. If you're not passionate about the work, you'll burn out fast.
And we haven't even talked about those on-set divas. Are the rumors true? Difficult actors, demanding directors, all that.
Let's just say RoleCatcher tells you to brush up on your diplomacy skills. Lots of big egos, everyone with their own needs. You're keeping the peace A&D, keeping the production moving. Not easy.
Sounds like you need the patience of a saint.
Pretty much. But really, it's about building those relationships, figuring out what makes people tick, and knowing when to push back and when to compromise.
Okay, so this isn't a career for everyone, but for those who are tough enough, who are truly passionate about film, what makes it worth it? What are the rewards?
Well, besides the occasional brush with fame, RoleCatcher talks about the feeling of being part of something big. You're making art with talented people who get it, who love it as much as you do.
And being there for those magic moments, right? The perfect take, a performance that blows you away, seeing all that work come together on screen.
That's it. And as you gain experience, you get more say in those moments, more creative control.
So maybe someday we'll be doing a deep dive on your career, huh? From PA all the way to the director's chair.
Let's not get ahead of ourselves. But speaking of the future, what about AI? How might that change things for assistant directors?
Right. We talked about RoleCatcher using AI to help people get hired, but could AI actually do the job itself someday?
That's the big question. No one knows for sure, but RoleCatcher brings up some interesting ideas, like AI could handle some of the scheduling stuff, the budgeting, all that.
So less time on logistics, more time on the creative side.
Exactly. And imagine using AI to look at a script, before you even start shooting, figure out potential problems, even come up with solutions.
So instead of just handling the chaos, you're using AI to prevent it. That's wild.
It is. But RoleCatcher, they make a good point. Even with all that, you'll always need humans.
Because in the end, film is about connecting with people,
Yeah.
right? And that takes empathy, creativity, things AI can't replicate.
Exactly. AI can analyze a scene, but it can't understand what it means to a human heart. That's the director's job, and the assistant director is right there with them, making sure it all comes through.
So that human touch, that's always going to be important no matter how much tech we have.
Right. And as tech evolves, so will assistant directors. They'll adapt, they'll learn new things, but they'll always be essential to making movies.
That's a great note to end on. Thanks for this incredible look into the world of assistant directors.
It was my pleasure.
And to everyone listening, whether you're a film buff or just curious about what goes on behind the scenes, thanks for joining us for another deep dive. We'll see you next time.